I stepped into my 20th high school reunion, wearing a simple navy dress, feeling completely out of place from the moment the valet barely looked my way. The grand resort lobby sparkled with chandeliers and laughter already spilling from the ballroom. I pinned on my plain name tag and braced myself for another night of being invisible. Little did I know this would become the evening everything finally changed. My name is Lauren Hayes, and for 2 decades I had carried secrets heavier than anyone at Jefferson High could imagine. While my younger sister Vanessa thrived in the spotlight, I had chosen a different path after our senior year. I walked away from law school dreams and headed to West Point instead. That decision cost me relationships and respect, but it gave me purpose I never regretted. Tonight, those two worlds were about to collide in ways I never expected. Vanessa was already commanding the stage when I found my seat at a back table near the exit. In her striking red dress, she announced her latest promotion at the Department of Justice with effortless charm. She even tossed in a subtle jab about me being uniquely myself, drawing polite chuckles from the crowd. I sat quietly, nursing a drink and watching old classmates like Derek Lang approach with that same smug grin he wore 20 years ago. Derek leaned in close, his voice dripping with fake concern. He asked if I was still stuck pushing papers somewhere dusty, or if I had finally given up on that military phase. Nearby guests whispered about how I had dropped out of law school and wasted my potential. The words stung more than I wanted to admit, but I kept my expression steady. I had learned long ago how to hold my ground when no one else could see the battles I fought. The evening dragged on with toasts and slideshows, celebrating the Golden Alumni. Vanessa and Derek made a perfect power couple in everyone's eyes, while I remained the footnote at table 14. My old friend Sophia caught my eye from across the room and offered a small, knowing smile. She was one of the few who never fully bought the narrative that I had faded into nothing. Still, the weight of being underestimated pressed down harder with every passing minute. I stepped outside to the balcony for air, letting the cool night wind clear my head. Derek followed me out, drink in hand, and reopened old wounds about how I threw away a bright future. He could not understand why I chose service over everything else we once planned. Before I could respond, Vanessa appeared to pull him back inside for photos, her smile never quite reaching her eyes when she glanced my way. The dismissal felt familiar, but something in me had already begun to shift. My secure phone buzzed in my clutch, pulling me back to reality. An encrypted message confirmed what I suspected. The situation I had been monitoring was escalating fast. I knew my time here was limited, yet I needed these last hours to close an old chapter. Inside the ballroom, the celebration continued, but my mind was already moving toward duty and the classified world waiting beyond these walls. Later that night, in my hotel room, I opened the hardened case hidden beneath my clothes. The secure screen glowed to life with threat updates and urgent briefings. A call came through from command, confirming they needed me back immediately for a critical operation involving national security. I had 48 hours before extraction, but the timing felt almost poetic given everything unfolding downstairs. The next evening, the awards portion began, and Vanessa took the stage again to thunderous applause as the distinguished alumna. She spoke about leadership and rising above, with pointed remarks about those who chose to stay in the shadows. Derek raised a glass in her honor, joking about military life being nothing more than kitchen duty for people like me. The laughter that followed cut deep, yet it also steeled my resolve. I slipped out quietly, heart pounding with a mix of anger and clarity. Moments later, the sky above the resort lawn began to rumble. Heads turned as a matte black helicopter descended, its rotors whipping up wind and disbelief. Guests shielded their eyes and whispered in confusion while waitstaff froze in place. Colonel Reeves stepped out in full dress uniform and marched straight toward me across the grass. Time seemed to slow as every eye in the crowd locked onto what was happening. Colonel Reeves stopped in front of me and delivered a crisp salute. Lieutenant General Hayes, the Pentagon requires your immediate presence. His voice carried across the stunned silence. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Vanessa nearly dropped her glass, her face draining of color. Derek stood frozen, wine spilling over his hand as realization hit him like a freight train. Sophia stepped forward first, her eyes wide with awe and something like pride. The truth I had kept hidden for so long was finally in the open. I had not disappeared after high school. I had risen through the ranks, led sensitive operations, and made decisions that protected the country from threats most people would never know existed. The helicopter blades thundered as I boarded, leaving behind the shattered assumptions of everyone who thought they knew my story. In that moment, I felt the weight of 20 years lift just a little. Back in Washington, the fallout spread quickly across networks and social media. Vanessa had recorded a podcast episode, painting me as someone seeking validation through rank and drama. Old emails surfaced showing how she had quietly worked to erase my achievements from school records, and even blocked a Medal of Honor nomination years earlier. The discoveries hurt, but they also explained so many missing pieces from our fractured relationship. Sophia and Derek reached out with information that confirmed the depth of the manipulation. I confronted the altered history with a heavy heart, realizing jealousy had driven my sister to diminish me at every turn. Yet beneath the betrayal, I still remembered the little girl who once looked up to me during thunderstorms. That memory kept me from closing the door completely. Weeks later, I stood before a gathering at our old school to set the record straight. I shared evidence of my service and spoke about the power of quiet integrity. Vanessa attended and listened without interrupting. Afterward, she sent a simple note asking if we could meet. In a quiet Seattle cafe, we finally talked as sisters instead of rivals. She admitted building her identity by trying to outshine my shadow, and I confessed how much her actions had wounded me over the years. We did not erase the past, but we chose to stop letting it define us. The Medal of Honor ceremony on the South Lawn brought everything full circle. As the president placed the ribbon around my neck, I thought about the long road from that overlooked girl in the navy dress to this moment. Vanessa sat in the audience and clapped with genuine emotion for the first time in decades. Today I teach leadership to cadets at Fort Liberty, passing on lessons forged in silence and sacrifice. A new generation is learning that true command often happens away from spotlights and applause. Vanessa is working on a documentary series highlighting women in service, starting with honest conversations about our own journey. The book Sophia and I are writing continues to open doors for others who feel unseen in their own lives. Looking back, I realize I never needed their validation to know my worth. I simply needed to keep showing up for what mattered. The world may celebrate loud success, but the most important work often happens in the shadows where character is truly tested. If my story proves anything, it is that quiet strength eventually finds its voice when the time is right. If Lauren Hayes' journey touched something in you, drop a comment below. Let me know if you have ever felt overlooked or underestimated by the people closest to you. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss these real-life stories of resilience, redemption, and the power of choosing purpose over recognition. Your support keeps these narratives alive. Thanks for listening.